Hello, Governor. This is Rakai Steve, nupefromdaville. We're going to talk about Doctor Who, Season 9, Episode 5. But first, let me tell you a little story. Even though it's been in the news, in the media, for a few years now, the resurgence of the vampire lore has taken everyone by storm. But what does that really mean, to be a vampire? And I know what you're thinking. You're thinking the traditional vampires that suck the blood from the neck or, drink blood in order to sustain their life. But there's a such thing as an energy vampire too, just people that just suck the life out of you. The thing is, we're allured by vampires because they have the promise of immortality, and it seems like it would be a cool idea to live forever. But cool to who? Why would that be cool to outlive everyone that you knew? Can you imagine? With our short lifespans, we make a choice and then hopefully you don't have to live with that long. But imagine if you lived forever and you made a sequence of bad choices that had to stay with you forever. Let's talk about it. Hello, Governor. This is Rakai Steve, nupefromdaville, and again, we're going to talk about Doctor Who, Season 9, Episode 5, The Girl Who Died. Now, for this media therapy deep dive, I'm going to call it a ripple to a tsunami. Now, if you've been rocking with me for a while, you know I'm not going to do a long recap. It's going to be real short and sweet. We're going to get to my quotes and my personal thoughts, and then we're out. The TARDIS ends up in a Viking village. I want to say it's maybe right around the first millennium, somewhere in there, somewhere between 800 AD and 1200 AD, right around there. The Doctor sees how the people are and he claims to be Odin, but some figure appears in the sky and says that he's Odin. The next thing, he's on the ground. He looks like a Viking, but he's got some metallic pieces on him like a cyborg, and he comes with some metal soldiers with him. Clearly alien. But right now he has the thrall of the people, and he says he's Odin. All the strongest warriors in the village need to come with him. They are taken to the spacecraft, and then they are drained of all of their life essence. Now, it just so happens that Clara and a shield maiden, a young girl in a village named a shielder, who's played wonderfully by Maisie Williams. You might remember her as Arya from Game of Thrones. They're also taken to the ship. Clara confronts the leader of these aliens, and even though the aliens were about to leave, a shielder fronts the aliens and threatens them, and now it's a war. These aliens are called the Mire, and the Doctor is well aware of who they are, and he figures out that the only way to defeat them, to get this small group of farmers, since they took all the strongest people in the village, to defeat them, is to reverse the polarity, the electromagnetism in their helmets. A shielder has the unique ability to kind of make dreams come true. She has visions. So the Doctor comes up with a plan to get one of the helmets, put it on a shielder, and make all the Mire see what a shielder sees. And it works until one of the helmets drains all the life out of a shielder. And as a last-ditch effort to save a shielder's life, the Doctor uses technology from the Mire to repair a shielder. But the problem with that is the technology is so good and so space age that it will continue to repair whatever is wrong with her, including dying. And it appears that a shielder may be immortal. Now, you know that I love my quotes, and today I only have two. Now, the first one comes from Henry Cloud, and he says, "We change our behavior when the pain of staying the same becomes greater than the pain of changing. Consequences give us the pain that motivates us to change." The second quote is from Margaret J. Wheatley, and she says, "Without reflection, we go blindly on our way, creating more unintended consequences and failing to achieve anything useful." I call this media therapy deep dive a ripple to a tsunami, because sometimes we don't realize how the smallest thing that we do can create a large ripple effect until the ripple becomes a wave, until that wave turns into a tsunami. You know, I started off with a story talking about vampires. I've been on this vampire kick here lately. I've been completely enthralled by Ryan Coogler's Sinners. If you haven't had a chance to go check out my short, you should. The idea of immortality. So in this Doctor Who episode, we see a shielder become immortal. But what does that really mean? A shielder was a girl, teens, young teens, and now she's cursed with living forever. Which I don't know about you. I would not have wanted 14-year-old me to live forever. Even though the more years you live, the wiser you become, the more that you know, the more that you've seen. But 14-year-old me? And that's not even aesthetically. That's not even about how I looked at 14, which wasn't bad. One as good as like 18 or 19-year-old me. But it wasn't bad. But just to be stuck there. A shielder even said that she had found love and was pregnant and lost the child. To be immortal and see everything and everyone you love die off time after time after time, and to be alone while you do it, has got to be one of the worst pains ever, which is why it's necessary for the Doctor to travel with a companion. The Doctor, all he could think about at the time was saving a shielder's life. Now, for the way the episode went, I thought that he was going to take the electricity or whatever and do like whatever the machine, the paddles, clear, and bring a shielder back to life by shocking her heart back to life or what have you. But instead, he chose a different route. Unintentional, because his intentions were good, but was it? Because you don't realize that you may have created your own enemy. You may have created your own nemesis. Because now she's cursed with walking this earth forever. And I'm sure there may be a way to kill her. I don't know. I'm sure no matter how good the little alien technology that they put in her that repaired her body and at all costs, I don't know if they can repair it if they like chop your head off. I don't know. Don't want to know, really. But you've altered the consequences of not only timeline. I know, like in the movies, we're done with the MCU and the multiverse and all that. And each decision has a cost. We watched Iron Man in Infinity War Endgame. We watched him make a choice, but that was only because Doctor Strange told him, I just looked at 14 million different variables, and there's only one in which we win. And Iron Man seemed to know what that was. But what about the consequences of that decision? The consequences when they chose 5 years later to bring everybody back. All of these things have an effect. When you alter consequences, it means the context of a change in behavior, adjusting the outcome so that whatever that behavior is, you will either increase or decrease the likelihood of that behavior occurring again. But what does that mean? I call this altering consequences because you have no idea what a shielder's life would have become. And a lot of times we as humans, we make decisions and you gotta live with that decision. And a lot of us try to repress it, act like it didn't happen. And I have one that I've talked about here lately, the potter's wheel, where the consequences of those actions you made, if they weren't favorable, you keep running into situations because you have not learned your lesson, and that consequence is going to keep dealing a blow to your life. Sometimes you have a decision to make. You can go left, you can go right, you can go up, you can go down. You can say yes, you can say no. You can accept something or you deny it. That will have an impact on your life. How do you know if you made the right decision? You don't. But whatever decision you made, you have to live with it. Whether it's a good decision, whether it's a bad decision, you have to live with that decision. And if you feel you made a bad decision, you should work to make it better. There's a few decisions I can look back right now vividly and know that they would have altered the consequences of my life. They would have altered the trajectory of my life. But it also would have came with a different set of consequences. I would have not met my ex-wife. I would not have the kids I have now. Maybe I would have been with a woman who only wanted one kid. Maybe I wouldn't have had any kids. Maybe I wouldn't have had them with a wife. Maybe I had a bunch of kids out at wedlock. Who knows what that would have meant for me? And who knows what it would mean for you by certain things that you do in your life? The thing that was great about this episode is a two-parter. So even though we understand and we can look at that what the doctor did may not have been the right choice, Ashira didn't even have a choice, and I'm sure she probably said yes, she would have loved to have been alive. You know, I'm sure she wasn't through with her life, but as a teenager. But that's a different thing to force someone to live an additional 1,000 years or what have you. That's a different type of hell. Luckily, we get a chance to watch the next part to see what became of that. This is Rakai Steed, nupefromdaville. Make sure that you like this video, share it as much as possible, and leave me some comments. What did you think about this particular episode? What did you think about altering the consequences of your life or other people's life? Whether unintended or meant to be. And if for some reason you haven't subscribed yet, hit the button, subscribe to this channel. There's a bunch of videos that you can watch. Some might actually resonate with you. Remember, every time we do this, it's about this. At the very least, it's got to be about this.